Welcome everyone again. Nice to have you here. Today we're going to go over our new time tracking system through Workday. So as you've hopefully seen in our communication, Kronos will no longer be our time tracking system. You will start entering time in Workday as of January 1st. So this training is really to go over what that process will be like and answer any questions that you may have. So with that said, please feel free to ask away if you have any questions as I'm going through the presentation and the demonstration, or you're welcome to also drop your question on the chat. We'll get to those as much as we possibly can, as fast as we can. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Share. All right, so today we will go over, first we're going to talk about major changes, things that we can expect to see in Workday, that's different from Kronos. We're going to talk about terminology changes, resources, and then we'll do the demonstration, which I think will really be the bulk of our training today. So first, major changes. So it's going to be a very different visual experience for you to enter time in Workday. So as you know, with Kronos, currently we have people like to say that it's very outdated. And so hopefully Workday will be a more of an up-to-date, visually friendly system to enter time, okay? Another big impact that I think affects most of you as student employees is currently when we make a change in Workday. So let's say you request a new job and we add it into Workday, or we have to update your supervisor from one to someone else, then it does take 24 hours for you to see those changes and for your supervisors to see those changes in Kronos. Now, because it's all going to be inclusive in Workday, it's going to be one system, those changes will be visually visible immediately. Okay, there's not going to be a delay any longer. So once we add a job to your record, you'll be able to see it on your time card and enter time for that job. Okay, a big change that's coming is work weeks. I should say pay periods will now be displayed as weeks instead of 2-week periods. So currently when you log on to Kronos, you're able to see your entire pay period, which is composed of 2 weeks. With Workday, we're only going to be able to see 1 week at a time. Okay, so that's going to be a big change. We have added indicators on the time cards, letting you know the period length of those pay periods. Okay, so you'll be able to identify the pay periods by those indicators. A big change is for those of you that request California sick. Currently, you're able to request those hours by selecting the code in Kronos and then adding the hours. Moving forward with Workday, you'll have to actually submit them for approval from your supervisor. Okay, we'll go over how to do that. And then two, time cards. Currently, when you approve your time card in Kronos, it doesn't really necessarily go anywhere. There's no approval notification that is sent to your supervisor. The supervisor sort of have to go in and see the status of your time card to know whether or not you've submitted your time card. Moving forward with Workday, time card submissions will be routed to your supervisor for them to then approve after you submit your approval. Okay, and submissions are required in Workday so that your hours can be captured in payroll. So it's very important that you go in and you approve your time cards, and we'll go over what that looks like in the demonstration. And then mobile accessibility. So you'll have the opportunity to access Workday through your mobile device, enter time on your mobile device, submit hours and review hours on your mobile device. So that is a great feature that's coming, and we'll provide job aids and resources on how to how you can download the application onto your mobile device if you're interested in that. Okay. Please make note that for any of you who have accrued California sick hours, Those hours will be updated from Chronos into Workday on January 11th. Okay, so it is going to take us a little bit longer to update those accruals. We appreciate your patience as we work through that, but just know that on or after January 11th, those balances will be reflected accordingly. And as a reminder, you accrue 1 hour of California sick time for every 30 hours you work. And the hours are available to you after 90 days of your hire date. Okay. Any questions? I'll take a pause there. Any questions so far?
None in the chat, Crystal.
Okay. Great. So terminology changes. Wanted to point out just a couple of more impactful term changes that are coming. So absence is referred to as time off time off is or like California sick is referred to as time off in Chronos. Moving forward, in Workday will be referred to as absence. Okay, so when you see absence, it means California sick time. And then another big impact is historical corrections. Currently, what we call as historical corrections, when let's say you forget to enter time for the previous pay period and the pay period's already closed and paid out, your supervisor would process a historical correction in Chronos. We're going to refer to that moving forward as a retro adjustment in Workday. Okay, so it'll be a retro change. All right. And then we have our time tracking website that I hope you've all visited and navigated through. We are continuously updating it with job aids and videos that will help you as we move into Workday time tracking. We are also updating it with recorded training sessions. And so you have those available if you need to go back and relook at a session at your own time, you can do that. We have a frequently asked questions section that includes answers to a lot of our questions, but if there's anything on there that you would like to know and is not on that FAQ, please reach out and let us know and we can answer those questions for you. Okay, we have a Workday resources application within Workday that has all of our job aids and videos also available to you. And then you have your supervisor and your HR team as a resource.
I'm sorry, Crystal. We do have one question.
Sure.
It is from Janessa. She wants to know, just to clarify, does the 30 hours equal 1 sick hour for student workers as well? It is mainly for the students, yes. You have to work. I'm sorry?
Yes, it's for student workers. You're
okay.
Right.
If you work 30 hours, you will earn 1 hour, but you cannot use it until after 90 days of employment. And I believe, Janessa, you have exceeded the 90 days. If not, it will be available after the 90th day when you can start using it. You start accruing it or earning it from the beginning of time, but you cannot use it until after 90 days. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
It does. Thank you, Hortensia.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I see it. You just put it in the chat. Okay.
Great question. All right. And so we're going to move into our time tracking demonstration. So this demonstration is going to be from a replica of our Workday site. It was set up for time tracking testing and time tracking training. And so you're welcome to log on and get a feel of what Workday time tracking will be like come January. Please keep in mind this site is only available until tomorrow. So if you are interested in getting hands-on experience, please log on either today or tomorrow to do that. And just as a note, the last refresh of this site occurred on August 31st. So don't be alarmed if you see outdated information in the system. Okay. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move into the demonstration. So I am in Workday as James, and James is a student employee. Okay. James has 2 jobs in the system currently. He has one that is work study and one that is non-work study. So for James to be able to see his jobs, we will select, usually you'll see your photo up here on the right-hand corner. You select your photo and then you click view profile. Okay, so this is James' profile. Now you'll notice that this job is a student employee unpaid position. Please know that all students hold this unpaid position as their primary job because we do not want to have to onboard you every time let's say, end of academic year or in between jobs. Okay, so that whole process where you had to confirm and enter your personal information, provide us with your I-9 documents, all of that, we don't want you to do that every time you don't have a job and return and then come back to work. So we add this job as a placeholder to keep your status active in between jobs and in between semesters. Okay, so this position has no pay associated with it. It's just a holding job, if that makes any sense. So for James to see his other real jobs, we click on this back and forth icon and we can see his resident assistant job and his student technical support. If we click on the resident assistant job, we see who the manager is right here. And we can also confirm if the job is classified as non-work study or work study. Okay, in this instance, this is a non-work study job for James. And if we click on his student technical support job, we can see that this is a federal on-campus job. Okay, and this is just for you to be aware of where you can confirm this information. You don't necessarily have to identify, and we'll go through that in a bit. When you enter time, whether it's work study or not, the system will automatically determine that based on this job profile. Okay, but if you needed to confirm, this is where you would see that. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and go back here to our home page, and you will notice that from his home page, James has two new applications available. We have a time and we have an absence. Okay, the absence application is really meant for anything time off related. So if you ever needed to request California sick time off, you would go into this application. Okay, here we can see that he has 0 California sick hours as of today. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to submit my request for him because he doesn't have a balance, but I'm going to show you very quickly how you would go about doing it. So you click request absence. It's going to take you to your absence calendar. So here we see that we have the month of December. We can navigate from month to month here. Okay, et cetera, et cetera. So if James called out sick, let's say today, we're going to click on today. We're going to request an absence. We're going to tell the system the type of time off that we're requesting. For us, it's only California sick as a student. So we're going to select that. We're going to click next. Okay. Here we can edit the quantity of hours. So if we were using, let's say 2 hours, we're going to update that here. And I am expecting to see this, an error. So this error is because I don't have a balance currently in my bucket to use. So I'm getting this error. If you do have available balance, you would simply click done. It would take you back here and then you would submit your hours. When you submit your hours, these hours are going to go to your supervisor for approval. Okay. And on your time card, they won't display until your supervisor approves those hours. So it's very, very important that you're entering any California sick time as it happens, as you use it, so that there's no delay in it being captured on your time card, because there is an approval process that goes into play. Okay. Any questions or concerns on requesting California sick time? Okay. So now we're going to go back to our home page and we're going to click on the time application. So this is where I would be submitting my time. Okay. To see my time card, I would click this week, last week, or I could select the week of whatever time card I want to see. Okay. Whatever work week. I could submit my time in two different ways. I could do it through my time card by clicking here, or I can simply check in and check out. Okay, and this check in and check out feature is a timestamp. So you cannot say, I want to check in at 11. Checking in using this feature is actually going to check me in at the specific time when I selected the check-in button. So here, I need to do two things. First, I need to identify the position that I'm clocking in for, okay? So by going here, I would select either resident assistant or student technical support. And by doing that, what's happening is the time type is going to give me the appropriate pay code for this position. Okay, so let me go back here. I'm going to select the unpaid job. If I open the time type, I'm only going to have worked hours available, which worked hours in Workday refers to regular time in Chronos. Okay, so I'm going to select my resident assistant job and open time type, and I have worked hours because my resident assistant position is a non-work study job, so I should be paid using regular hours. If I select my student technical job, then my time type option is now work study. Okay, so the system is determining the type of time that I should be selecting based on the position that I'm choosing. Okay, if say you forget to select the time type and you leave it as select position below, the system will calculate the appropriate time. However, when your supervisor receives your time card for approval, they're going to see this instead of seeing work study or worked hours. Okay, so it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to determine your time type if you don't select it here. Okay, so this is the timestamp feature. Similar to that, you can also check out using this feature, and you would have to identify the reason. So if you're taking a lunch break, if you're just clocking out, you're working 2-hour shift and you're done for the day, you click out and then you click OK, and that's going to clock you out. Okay. If I prefer to enter my time on my time card, I select this week. Okay. And now this is how your time card will look like moving forward. Okay, so notice that we don't have 2 weeks here. We have 1 week displaying, and it's our work week starting from Saturday, ending on Friday. This time period end note is a reminder and the indicator letting you know the length of our pay period and when our pay period began and when our pay period ends. So when you see this time period end indicator, know that at the end of your shift on Friday, you must submit your time card, okay? If you say are not working Friday, then on Thursday at the end of your shift, submit your time card, okay? So now I'm going to go in and I am going to add time. So if today I worked from 8 to 10, I would select any area here under Thursday, okay? And I'm entering time for 12:15. Notice that I have my time type first, but it's telling me to select the position below first. Because in order for the system to know the time type that I should select, first I need to identify the position, similar to the check-in and the checkout. So I'm going to do 8 a.m. here to 10 a.m. It's a 2-hour shift. I'm going to select my position. Then I'm going to go back up and I'm going to select the appropriate time type. In this case, it's work study. I can add a comment here if I wanted to. It's not necessary. And then I click OK. So now I have my work study shift here from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. for my student technical job. Okay, if I needed to make an update to this job, I would select it, make a change, or delete it. Okay, I will pause there for a minute see
We
if there's
do
any
have,
questions.
we do have a question from Lucy. She wants to know, does the office have a preference if we use this feature or the timestamp one? That is totally up to you, Lucy, unless your supervisor is very specific on what they want you to use, but I really cannot see a reason why they would choose one over the other. Hope that answers your question. And then Janessa, oops, sorry, it moved. Hold on. Janessa, or does it matter what which they do first?
I
What do
think
you mean, Janessa? Can you elaborate on that?
she has her question prior to that, says, so
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So the position needs to be selected before the time type?
correct. The position, although it's towards the bottom, and we did check in with Workday to see if we could move the position before time type. Unfortunately, it's how Workday is configured. We can't do that. So yes, you would have to select first the position, then go back up to select the time type. Okay. If again, you select the position and leave this as select position below because you forget to update it, do know that the system will calculate those hours, as you can see under my summary, as work study. However, it's when you submit your time card and it goes to your supervisor for approval, they're going to see select position below under time type instead of work study. So it's going to be a little more confusing for them when they're approving your time. Also, for tracking purposes and reporting purposes, we highly recommend that you select the time type. Okay, and that should be probably part of your review process when you're ready to submit your time card. Just do a quick glance over and make sure that all of your time is reflecting work study or worked hours. Okay, so for Wednesday, I'm going to enter time for my resident assistant job. Okay, and then I'm going to select the time type and I'm going to click OK. Okay, so we highly recommend you just do a quick glance over of your time card and make sure that there's no select position below in your time blocks. Okay. If you, let's say, are entering time and you are in a rush and you enter time under the student employee unpaid job. So this is the position that is there as a placeholder. What will happen is, you'll get an error. Oh, I already have. So here, time overlaps with existing time. I already have time entered from 10 to 11. So let me change that to 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And I'm going to say, okay. So the system will allow you to, it will take your entry. However, you will receive an error letting you know that you have entered time for a position that does not have a pay rate associated with it. Okay, so this is your indicator that you didn't update your position and probably your time type. And so you'll have to go back into the entry and update it accordingly. Okay. There we go. All right. So here I know that my pay period is from 12/3 to 12/16. So if I needed to, I would go back here and update my time card. Notice that this time here, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. This time here is already showing in green. That's because I already submitted these hours to my supervisor and my supervisor has already approved it. Note that you are not restricted to submit your time to a specific date. Okay, you can submit your time card as soon as you have a time entry on your time card. Okay, but we are recommending that you submit your time card every other week at the end of the pay period. Okay, and this is the indicator reminding you to do that. So to review and submit your time card, you simply click the review icon on the bottom. It's going to give you the totals and the date range that you are submitting time for. Okay, if everything looks good, then you submit. Okay, hours will be sent per supervisor. So all of my resident assistant job hours went to my resident assistant supervisor for approval, and my student technical support hours were directed to the supervisor for that job. Okay. Once my supervisor approves my time card, I will receive an email notification letting me know that it's approved, and I will also be able to confirm with just by going into my time card and looking at the status of my time card. Your supervisor has an option to send your time card back to you if they notice that something is not correct. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to log in now as Jose Test, who supervises James's student technical position. And now Jose has the approval request for James's time card. Okay, so here as his supervisor, remember the time type. This is where if we don't make the appropriate indication of the type, this is where your supervisor would see select position below. We don't want that, okay? So we want to select the type. So here I'm going to go in and I'm going to review the time card. I'm going to say, no, there's something wrong with it. They're missing hours, or there's a missed meal penalty that's applicable. Okay, that's incorrect. So what I do is I can either approve it, send it back, or deny it. If I send it back, you have a missed meal penalty is correct. And we're going to talk about missed meal penalties in a little bit. So we're going to send it back to James. So now James is going to see that his time card was sent back to him. He's going to receive an email notification letting him know. And when he logs into Workday, he's going to see this in his inbox. Let's see, it's taking a minute to upload. There it is. So now I see my time entry is in my inbox. And when I open the inbox item and scroll all the way to the bottom, I can see the reason why my supervisor sent this back to me. And so from here, I can go into my time card, right? So select the appropriate day. He said a missed meal penalty. I have to find it. If it's easier, you can always go back into your time card and make the correction there and submit from there, from your time card directly, or you can do it here. So I don't see a missed meal penalty here. Here it is. On Wednesday the 7th, I have a missed meal penalty because I worked 5 hours straight. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say I worked from 10 to 1 p.m. If the missed meal penalty is correct and there's no change that is needed here, then I would leave it as is and I would resubmit with an explanation to my supervisor why I have the missed meal penalty. Okay, so don't always think that you have to change your time. Whatever time you worked, if it incurs a missed meal penalty, then you leave it as is. Okay, so I made my correction. So now it says needs attention. It needs attention because it was sent back to me, right? And I need to do something with my time. Okay, so then I'm going to go here. I made the appropriate change. I can review. There's no missed meal penalty, and then I'm going to submit again. So now it's back in my supervisor's inbox for review and for approval. Okay, so Workday allows for that communication that maybe Kronos didn't allow before, all within the system. Now, if there's something that you need clarification on, it's probably best to reach out and speak to your supervisor directly about that. But Workday does serve as a means of communication in some instances. Okay, so let's go back to the time card. Okay, so again, it's showing submitted because my supervisor hasn't approved these hours yet. This shows as approved because I had previously submitted and my time card had been previously approved. Excuse me. Okay, so now let's talk about the meal penalty. The missed meal penalty is applied to any employees, hourly employees who work more than 5 hours. No, let me rephrase that. To employees who work in a day more than 6 hours and do not take a meal break. Okay, so if you are working more than 6 hours in a day, you have to take a meal break before the 5th hour. And your meal break has to be at least 30 minutes long. Okay, so if you're working a 7-hour shift in between 2 or 3 jobs, you have to make sure that there is a 30-minute break in between those jobs somewhere before the 5th hour. Okay, so if I work 5 hours straight from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., and I'm going to work my resident assistant job, my worked hours. Okay. So if I work 5 hours straight without a break, I am going to receive the missed meal penalty. Okay. If I work, let's see, if I work from 8 to 12 p.m. or hours, and I take a break, okay, so I have, and I'm going to start my student technical job at 12:15, for example, and I'm off at 4 p.m. So I'm jumping from one job to another, taking 15 minutes to walk from one building to another building. I am going to receive a missed meal penalty because my break was only 15 minutes long. It was not at least 30 minutes. Okay, so you have to make sure that you plan accordingly if you're going to be working more than 6 hours in a day. If you work 6 hours back to back, so let's say I'm going to go back in and correct this, and I'm going to work from 8 to 11 in this job. That's 11 a.m. Okay, that's 3 hours. And then I'm going to work from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. No, 2 p.m. Another 3 hours. Okay, so I'm working back to back 6 hours, and I do not want to take a meal break. Then I can ask my supervisor for my resident assistant job to waive my meal penalty because my shift was only 6 hours long. It was not more than that. And I decided to not take a meal break. Okay, so here I would notify my supervisor, and my supervisor can go in and can waive this meal penalty for me. Now, if I am going to then work another 2 hours down here as a resident assistant, I am required to take that 30-minute break before the 5th hour. Any questions on meal breaks? No? Okay, great. So again, as a reminder, you can navigate from week to week by selecting the back and forth icons here. Okay, you submit your time card by clicking the review button. You're always going to get an alert if you work more than 40 hours a week, or if you have a missed meal penalty calculating on your time card. And this really is just meant for informational purposes to alert you and your supervisor that there's activity on your time card that is not common, okay? And then we're going to click review and then submit again. So again, now this is going to go to my time card, to my supervisors, Tasmia and James, Tasmia and Jose, to review. Okay. So I'm going to stop share. Are there any questions, any concerns?
There's one question in there.
Mm-hmm.
If students have a set schedule, can they enter hours early just so it's done and they don't forget? You can enter your hours during that shift when you start your shift. And yes, you can say, I'm leaving at 5. But if you leave at 4:30, you have to make sure you change it. So it's safer to punch in and then punch out after, but it's up to you. You just cannot be entering hours in advance because that you have not worked yet. And that could be perceived as being fraud, really, when you enter hours in advance because you have not yet worked it. But I'm talking about in advance, like in a day or two, or for the week, the following week. Does that help?
It's always better to just enter as you work. I know so we're so busy, right, that we forget, but make it a habit of doing it, and that way there's less room for error when you submit your time card, and you don't have to be remembering what you worked 2 weeks ago or last week, for example. And that reminds me with regards to retro. So if, let's say, you submit your time card, everything is going well, or actually you don't submit your time card for a pay period, you forget, right? Or you're busy and you can't get to it. And what will happen is we in HR will override your time card. We will push it through to payroll. Once payroll opens, Hortensia will lock it, so you will not be able to make any edits to your time card until payroll closes. And that's usually a 2-day period, okay, from a Monday to a Wednesday, usually. And so for that period of time, your time card will not be available for you to make any changes to it. Once payroll closes, then you will be able to enter time for that pay period. If it was not correct, you will be able to enter time retroactively. And that whatever change you make will be captured on the following pay period. Okay.
That replaces the historical corrections that you're currently doing, where we have your supervisor that goes in and does the edit for you. Now it's going to be on your lap. So you just need to make sure that your timing is correct. Everything that comes in late and is recorded late, like a retro, will be captured in the following pay period. You won't get paid those hours for the current payroll.
So it's very, very important that you, when you get those reminders from Hortensia to submit your time card, that you do it in a timely manner so that you can get paid accordingly.
I have one question for the entire team. If you can either shout it out or just put it in the chat. I'm just curious, which method do you prefer that was demonstrated? Going directly into the time card or doing the punch in, punch out? Can you guys give me an idea?
Max?
Direct?
And I assume that's on the time card.
Time card, yes, time card. Okay. So you don't like the punch in, punch out? I think that one's easier, but you know, it's your call.
It's easier if you start right on the minute. Otherwise, no.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay,
Well,
well,
thank you
we
for
hope,
letting us know.
yeah, we hope this was helpful. We're recording the session. We'll make it available to everyone. I welcome you to log on. I'm going to share the link for the testing site. If you want to go in and just play around, you can do that. And then we are going to be updating our time tracking website continuously with videos and recordings that'll help you as we transition. So remember, the first day that you return after the break, whatever day that is, once you start working in January, you will no longer use Chronos. You will log on to Workday to record your time. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So happy you came. You were able to join us.
Thank you, everyone.
Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays.